Hello everyone, peace of Christ to all. In this video we will answer the question about, do Christians and Muslims worship the same God? You know, some people, they try to help you in answering a question, but when they answer it they make it more complicated, and I believe this is because they themselves, they are kind of confused. The best answer is the simple one. So I will play Dr. James White trying to answer this question, and I will tell you why I don't really like his answers. Now, there's many things he said in the video, I agree with it, but there is more important things from what I agree with I don't agree with. So now let us see what Mr. James White want to say.
Christians that don't really seem to understand why this is such an important issue and why this has to be something that we focus upon in our conversations with Muslims. Do we worship the same God? Well, if we're talking about the God of Abraham, which we would say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you would say Abraham and Ishmael primarily. Obviously, we're talking historically about the God who called Abraham out of the Ur of Chaldees. And so on that level, yes, we're talking about the same God. That's not the same thing as...
Hold on. You know, this is absolutely false. In historical level, I heard him many times actually. I heard him in the radio time once. He was saying the same thing, that in historical level we are worshipping the same God. Now let us examine if this is true or not. You see, I'm not a person who just say a statement and let it go. We better say a statement and sponsor it with the proofs and evidence. You know, when we say in historical level, is God is something historical or is real? I mean, are we basing our belief in historical level, or we know who is our God? Like, is our God is a name in history, or he is a true God who is not a history figure? To make it clear for you, if we want to say that, you know, what he's trying to say to you, that Muslim, they call their God Allah, the one who Abraham, who his God, supposedly Allah, asked him to sacrifice his son. So he's saying, if that is the God, historical, yes. In fact, this is not true. And we can prove it easy. Let us go to the Qur'an. You know, I don't do what James White does. I go and show reference and make a real study, deep. Even though, but like it's deep, but I make it simple for those who they are not highly educated in this religion. So let us go and see how we can prove that historically we don't have the same God. Let us see that. Now, there is many verses in the Quran using names which is very familiar with us as Christians in the Old Testament. Like if we go in chapter 4 verse 163, you can click at any false translation the Muslims they come with. As I said many times, I don't agree with any of them. You will see here, and by the way, the Muslims, they changed the names to fit in English. So don't think that those names are exactly written in the same way in Arabic, especially like Jesus, you know, etc. We have sent the inspiration as we sent it to Noah and the messengers after him. We sent inspiration to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and the tribes, to Jesus, Job, Jonah, Aaron, and Solomon, and to David we give the Psalms. Now, you know, historically, if we are talking about the God of Islam in a historical way, to see if this God fit with our God, we need to first to find out if the Quran historically is accurate, so we can say we historically we share the same God. You will see here that the one who made the Quran is really an idiot. So he starts supposedly counting from Noah, right? And then the messengers after him. When you see this, you think that the author of the Quran is simply trying to give us information in order, historical order. So we sent inspiration to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob's, the tribe, and then he goes to Jesus, and then Job, and then Jonah, and then Aaron, and then Solomon, and then David, and Moses is gone. Moses is gone, all right? And not only this, is Jesus before Job? Is Jesus before Jonah, Aaron, Solomon, David? So the Quran is a messed up book. You know, when you go and read in the Old Testament, you will see how things is organized, how things come in order. When you come to the Quran, you will see that this person is simply hijacking names, but he cannot even put them in orders. What I'm trying to say, there's a huge difference between using names which is very famous, used by other religion or belief, and putting it in your book, and you really belong to those people. You know, the scammers and the false and like those who violate copyrights, they make bags the same as the bag you buy from the store for $2,000. They say it to you for $5. It has the same name. So historically, it's not the same one, because it doesn't fit with the historical examination. This is just one example. What about if we go and see who is Jesus, which is Isa? We do not know who is Isa, and there is nowhere in history reported that Christians ever have the name of Isa in their book. But let us see who is this Isa. As an example, if we if we go to the Quran, all right, we will see the Quran. This is the fastest way to open it. Speaking about Mary, that she is the sister of Aaron. And Mary in the Quran is Maryam, not Mary. Maryam. O sister of Aaron, the father was not a man of evil, nor the mother was unchaste. Actually, the translation in the Arabic, in English, is very, very very deceiving. The word unchaste here does not exist. In Arabic word, your mother, she was not a whore. And actually the word whore, I'm trying to be nice, I don't want to speak dirty. In Arabic it says she was not baghiya, which means she is not really a prostitute. Like, this is a nice word too. Baghiya is very, very ugly word for prostitute. So, you sister of Aaron. Now, is that historically correct? So are we sharing the same Aaron? Are we sharing the same one? Obviously we don't. The one who is making the Quran, he misunderstood, or let us say he hijacked the story. He heard that Mary, Aaron, he have a sister, her name is Maryam, which exists in the Old Testament, and this is true. And the idiot, he think that Maryam is the mother of Isa, is the same sister of Aaron. So he say, oh, sister of Aaron. Alright? And this is located in the chapter of Maryam.
And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. And she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went, and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away, and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child, and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, Because I drew him out of the water. And it came to pass in those days.
Before we talk about Mary, as long as we are talking about Aaron, we'll have to talk about Moses, which is missing in that verse we showed you in the Qur'an. This is the story of Moses in the Bible. And I think all of the Christians, they know this story. But is this the same story of Moses in the Qur'an? Just to show you that Muhammad is nothing but a thief, I want you to take a note. You will see with me here, it says, I will call him Moses. She will call him Moses, because I draw him out of the water. Which means Moses mean the one who survived drowning from the water. Alright? Now remember, the name of the Quran is the same. But Muslims cannot explain to us why his name is Moses when the Quran story is different. In the Quran, there's nobody who was drowning in the water when he was a child. There's no woman who take him from the river or from the from the water. The whole story we see in front of us is not exist in the Quran. It's totally different story. According to the Quran, first time Moses he went to Egypt, he went with his wife. He is a grown man, an adult, and he went with his wife with a message from Allah. Yep, that it is. So when we say historically we are worshipping the same God, no, we don't worship the same God. Because obviously everything there is different. The whole story, if Muhammad he hijacked names, that does not make us having the same names. Because Moses of the Quran have nothing to do with Moses of the Bible. Moses in the Quran, his story is the following. Let us read together. You can go to chapter 27 and you can read from verse number 1. You can choose any translation you want. Whatever translation, at the end of the day, all of them they are false, as I said. However, you can see that the translation or the story about Moses here is totally different. You will notice in the beginning, by the way, there's two letters here. Muslims have no idea what those letters mean. If we go to the Arabic, Ta, Sin. Ta, Sin. What does that mean? Ask any Muslim. He will have no answer. Alright? For sure, we as those who have deep knowledge in the Quran, we have an answer for this, and maybe in different video I will make details about it to show you how stupid the one who wrote the Quran. He's nothing but a thief, as simple as that. However, if you go and read the story from verse number 1 all the way to the end, whatever you want to read, you will see that Moses, he is a grown man before he arrived to Egypt. He is a grown man. He did not go to Egypt when he was a child. He went to Pharaoh as a grown man with his wife as a prophet of God to warn him. Alright? So you will see here, suppose this is a story of Moses now. Remember when Moses said into his household, so Moses now in this second, he's a household man. He have family and he have a wife. Lo, I spy after off a fire. I will bring you a tiding thence, or bring you a ball of flame, that you may warm yourself. But when he reached, and this is the story supposedly when he saw the fire in the tree, and God spoke to him, and God, he said to him, I am Allah, it is I, Allah, it is I, Allah, the mighty, the wise. Alright? Now here you will notice that they are hijacking what the story from the Bible says, I am, but in here became I. In Arabic actually it is I am. So anyway, the story of Moses in the Qur'an is a very different story. It's not the same story as the book which is we have. And as I said, the Bible is giving us the reason for Moses to be called Moses. He was called Moses as a child. Like a Muslim, they might say to you, oh no, he was called Moses because he was, they might give you this excuse saying, because he survived the water when the Pharaoh tried to kill him. But that means he was given the name after he became, long after he became a man. But you see here, the Quran says clearly that Moses, he went there, and this is before he met the Pharaoh. His name is already a Moses, according to the Quran. His name is Moses before he met the Pharaoh, which means his name is Moses even before he, since he was born. So why he was called Moses? Alright? And you can see different like verses speaking about the same thing. In chapter 7 verse 103, verse 104, you can read, this is the same chapter. You can read chapter 7. You will see that Moses, he came to Pharaoh as a messenger, not as a child. He was sent by Allah as a man to Pharaoh as a messenger. Then after them we sent Moses with our tokens into Pharaoh and his chiefs, but they repelled them. Now see the nature of etc. So Moses, he said, Moses, he came to Pharaoh as a messenger, as a growing man. And this is totally a disagreement story with the historical reference we have from the Old Testament. Now, ask yourself, people, why the Jews want to change the story? Like, do you know Muhammad, he will come 600 years after he speak about Moses? What the point of his changing the story about Moses? That he was a child, and then they pick him up from the water, and then he grew up in Egypt, and etc. and etc. But in the Quran, yet this is story different story. What the point of the Jews to change it anyway? There's no point. And then the Christians, for 600 years before Islam, they have the same story in their Old Testament, the same book as the Jews. It doesn't make sense. Then Muhammad, he come with different story. We never heard. So this Moses have nothing to do with our Moses. Simply Muhammad is fabricating issues, fabricating stories. He have his own imaginary about names he never met, he never heard of correctly. He cannot even quote their names correctly. And according to this, Moses and Aaron both are messengers and prophets sent to the Pharaoh. And by the way, the Muslims, they speak about the Pharaoh like there's one of the things they say it's a miracle that the Pharaoh he survived the water, as like this is a different topic, but just to let you know, the stupid author of the Quran, he considered the Pharaoh a name. قال فرعون, Pharaoh said, not the Pharaoh. You see, in Arabic when we say قال فرعون, that means Pharaoh is a name, it's not a title. But the idiot who wrote the Quran, he did not know that all the kings of Egypt, majorly, like certain within certain time, they are called Pharaoh. So now Pharaoh, he said to Moses, which Pharaoh? The word Pharaoh means king, the ruler. Which Pharaoh? Pharaoh says to Moses. Moses says to Pharaoh. The sister of Pharaoh, the wife of Pharaoh. Which Pharaoh? So Pharaoh obviously is a name. And actually you can see all the reference I have for you in my book. So the Muslims, even here, look at this verse as an example. It says, min qawmi Pharaon. Min qawmi Pharaon. Qawm mean nation. People of Pharaoh. That means Pharaoh is a man, because if a Pharaoh, a word mean king, it's stupid to say the nation of the king. Which king? The people of the king? Which one? You know what I mean? You can change you can change the translation. This is verse 127. Any translation you want, and you will see how funny it is. Said the chiefs of the Pharaoh peoples. What? Actually, in Arabic it doesn't say that. Anyway, so of Pharaoh's people, who is the people of Pharaoh? If Pharaoh is a word meaning king. And this mistake is all over. So obviously even the word Pharaoh have wrong place in the Qur'an, because Pharaoh in the Qur'an is a person who his name is Pharaoh. Chapter 7:109 again, like it's all over. Pharaoh is a name of a person. He is not a king. Yes, he is the king, but this king, his name is Pharaoh according to the Quran. If you go to chapter 3, verse 111, you will see the following. The people of Pharaoh. Have you ever heard about a sentence like this? The people of the king? Which king? Simply because Pharaoh in the Quran is a name. This is why the Muslims, they are not translating the word Pharaoh into a king, because simply Pharaoh for them is a name. And this is very stupid of the author of the Quran, because he don't know that Pharaoh is not a word as a name. It is a title. It's a king. So here he should say the name of that king. Who is that king? Who is that Pharaoh? The story keeps repeating Pharaoh, 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 but yet we don't have the name of the king or the Pharaoh we are talking about. Like, just to make it simple for you, we change this word here, that of the people of the president. This is very stupid to say the people of the president. Which president? Every country have a president. And Egypt itself have tons of pharaohs. So which one? So when it's come to historical study, Quran does not fit in any way, in any mean. We give it X. Now let's go to the old topic we did not finish yet, about Mary. She is the sister of Aaron. Now here we will see where the idiot who made the Quran, he got the story of Maryam, who is the sister of Aaron, as you see in the front of your eyes. You see it? So Muhammad in the Quran, he said, the Jews, they said to Mary, because in Arabic her name is Maryam, which is exactly the same as you see there. So the Jews, they said to Maryam, O sister of Aaron. But do you know how many 100 years there is between Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Maryam, the mother of, or the sister of Aaron? So can we say really we have historically we have the same God, as James White he said? Everything wrong historically. So if we want to say that, we should match at least the historical resource we have. The names are wrong. The location is wrong. The date is wrong. Everything is wrong. The story is wrong. So when we say historically we share the same God, what does that mean? That's absolutely wrong. Not only this, just to confirm this, what is the last name of Maryam in the Quran? What is the last name? Who is the father of Maryam in the Quran, let us say? I'm not talking about this Maryam now. This Maryam is the sister of Aaron, right? I'm talking about Maryam, the mother of Isa. Her last name, or her father name, is Umran. Umran. But Maryam, the mother of Jesus, her father is not Umran. Who is Umran? Oh, Umran, the father of Aaron and the father of Maryam. So the Quran, he took the name. Let me show you in the Quran, just wait. This is Amram. In the Quran, here the last letter is not M, is N. So even quoting the name of the father of Maryam is wrong. And remember here, Maryam is the sister of Aaron, not the mother of Jesus. So the idiot who wrote the Quran, he called the chapter of Mary, there's a chapter in the Quran called the chapter of Mary, and there's another chapter, it's called the chapter of Amran. The family of Amran. Who is the family of Amran? Is the family of Mary. So Muhammad, he think, or whoever he is copying the Quran from, that Amran, but he got the last letter wrong. It's Amran in Arabic. He is the father of Mary, which is the sister of Moses and Aaron. So according to the Quran story, Mary, the mother of Jesus, or Isa, as the Muslims call him supposedly, she is the sister of Aaron and Moses and the daughter of Amran. This is how stupid this book is. Let me show you in the Quran how Mary is the daughter of Amran. I will give you a clear cut, like there's many verses, but I will go with this one. Chapter 66, verse number 12. And Maryam, not Mary, Maryam, the daughter of Amran. You see here, he got it wrong. It should be Amram. He make it Amran. But do you see why it's that when a Muslim they say, oh, in the old time they used to say like you are the sister of someone older than you. It says this is the daughter of Amran, the sister of Aaron. This is exactly the same names in the gospel, but he got it wrong. He is confusing between Maryam, the sister of Aaron, the daughter of Amran. Like the Muslim, they will say to you, the sister of Aaron, because in old generations, the old time, they used to say the sister of someone. This is false. We don't say that in Arabic. But here, this is confirming the stupid mistake, because now she is the daughter of Amran. Who is Amran? This is the father of Aaron. And instead of saying Amran, because he is copying the Jews, he do not know how to say it correctly, he said Amran. Here we go. This is Amran. This is Amram, the father of Moses and Aaron. And this is Mary, the daughter of Amran. So Mary is the sister of Aaron, the sister of Moses, the daughter of Amran. So do we have anything correctly in historical meaning to share? Obviously Muhammad is still in names, so we cannot say. It's a very bad mistake to say historically we share the same God. We don't say the same God in anything. This guy is hijacking stories from here and there. Moses is famous, the Jews follow him. Isa, or Jesus supposedly, is the Christians, they follow him. So okay, I will get your prophet, I will get your God. He got everybody famous. Even Alexander the Great, he put him in the Quran. And he made him prophet for all of Allah. So Muhammad is an antique collector. And I'm talking about antique as names, not as individuals. So he go to the antique before him, antiques which does not even exist in the correct meaning, which is Isa. Who is Isa? We do not know who is this antique. Muslim, they tell us this is Jesus. But Jesus is not an antique. Isa is the antique because obviously they found something nobody found before. Nobody found Isa. Are you confused with Isos? The Greek word? You know? So simply when we say, oh, what about Abraham? Abraham. Do we have the same Abraham? Let us see if we have the same Abraham. Let us go and read the story of Abraham. The one whose name is Ibrahim in the Qur'an is the one who built the Kaaba. You can find that in chapter 2 verse 127, which means he is the first one. Muslims have many stories, by the way, but in the Quran the first one who built the Kaaba is Ibrahim. So do we have in our Old Testament someone his name Ibrahim and he built the Kaaba? We don't have such a thing. Do we have in our Old Testament a man who his name is Ibrahim, he went to Mecca? We don't have such a thing. We don't. So historically, this Abraham must be different Abraham. This is Ibrahim. We cannot have the same Ibrahim or Abraham. One in our book he went all the way to the Holy Land, which is Israel, and the other one he went all the way to Mecca. There's a huge difference between them. One in the west, one in the south, from the Babylonian land. There's a huge difference. And don't think at that time like people, they take an airplane and they will be there in 5 or 6 hours. To go there will take you, this is a journey might cost you your life. Very risky, very dangerous in the desert. And ask yourself, why someone want to leave the land of the Babylon, the land of rivers, and go to a land like Mecca? Mecca, it's coming from the word, like in Arabic meaning Makkah, which is actually a temple was existing in Yemen. And you will see that more in my coming book. So why a man who will leave all the way from the Babylonian land and go all the way to Mecca where there's no water? Those people, they live with their goats and sheep, their animals. At that time there's no grocery store to go and buy your food, right? There's no jobs. This is the only job you do. You have a few animals, you grow them, or you do farming, and that's it. Life is very simple. And you exchange, people, they don't even have, like, let us say, much use of money as much they are exchanging goods. Like, I give you a goat, you give me flour, I give you meat, you give me shoes, etc. So life is very simple, and there's no way that a man, his name is Abraham, he went to 2 places in the same time. One is called Jerusalem, and one is called Holy Land, Israel, and one is called Mecca. But yet the Muslims cannot explain to us why Allah, when he sent Moses back, he sent him back to Jerusalem. He did not send him back to Mecca. Like, Moses came from where? Why Abraham? Anyway, story is really complicated. So just to make it simple, when James White, he say that we share the same historical God, this is absolutely wrong. This is absolutely wrong. Now there's one more thing I want to comment about what James White he said about this. Now I agree with him that when he said in the deep meaning we don't share the same God, but I don't agree with him about historical. We don't share the same God in any way, in any mean with Muslims. Muhammad, he hijacked names. That doesn't make him he share God with us, because obviously he's a false prophet. If we ask James White, do you agree that Muhammad is a false prophet? Alright? Please ask him, guys. Ask him, make it your question. Do you agree, James White, that we and Muhammad, we don't like, do we agree that Muhammad is a false prophet? If you say yes, then he have a false God. As simple as that. Because false prophet is the one who prophesy for false God. What the Bible says about false prophets, like, James White, he claimed to be a scholar in the Bible, not in the Qur'an, but suddenly he became a scholar in the Qur'an. False prophet, according to the Bible, is the following. Let me show you from the Bible, so you don't say I'm saying my own. As you see in front of us, a false prophet, according to this verse, is the one who God, our Lord, did not command him to speak, or who spoke in the name of other God. That same prophet shall die, which means the punishment for false prophets is death. So why we want to go in a circle to speak about if we have historical God? Did Muhammad prophesy in the name of the God of Moses? The answer in the Bible, no, because in order to be a prophet for him, he have to get command from our God. He is speaking in the name of other gods. Is our God, his name is Allah? The answer is no. Not only this, there is other condition in the Bible which is saying that the one who gave false prophecy, and Muhammad is a false prophet. As an example, in the chapter of Al-Anfal, Muhammad, he said that 100 of you can win against 1,000, and then the Muslim went for war and they lost. He gave false prophecy. So he is a false prophet for two reasons: for giving false prophecy which never happened. Secondly, he prophesied without, or announced himself to be a prophet without getting command from our God. And all of us, we know that the prophets of God, they are from the seeds of Isaac and Jacob. And even the Qur'an says that. And Muhammad is not either. So, do we share the same God? In order to share the same God, we have to agree about sharing the same prophet. In order to share the same God, this prophet, he have to prophesy in the name of our God. What is the name of his God in the Quran? Allah. Who is Allah? Is that the name which is mentioned in the Bible? No. So historically, in deep way, it doesn't matter. The answer is no, no, no. Can we give a no answer clearly without saying in historical way yes, in deep meaning no? Historically no, and deep no, and we don't share the same God with Muslims. So I hope that I made it clear with the proofs and reference. I can give for sure a lot more, but that will make the video very long. The simple answer is that in order to have the same God, number one, we should share the same value. Islam teach everything ugly and disgusting and evil. Like, do our God teach evil? Absolutely not. The Quran teach evil, like having sex with the children's. Lying. What about lying? Can we lie? The Quran says yes. Can we use the name of God in vain? The Quran says yes. Even you can take false oath. Is that the same value we share? So why we want to go in a circle and we go around ourselves and say in this and this and that? It's not about the Trinity, no. Regardless if we have a Trinity or not. In order to have the same God, we have to have the same teaching. We have to have the same value. And obviously, we don't. Have you ever heard about a God says you can use my name to take an oath lying? It's okay? Let me show you. As an example, chapter 2, verse 2 to 5. Allah will not take you accountable for taking false oath. Let us see the translation, any translation you want. Because at the end, anyway, it's the same garbage. Allah will not take you, Allah will call you to account, which means accountable, for the truthfulness of your oath, but for your intention in your heart. So Allah, this God, is teaching Muslims that you can use my name falsely in your oath, lying, as long in your heart it's not what you meant. What is lying is, except saying something and in your heart is something else. Isn't it? This is lying, isn't it? So do we have the same God? Why we want to go in circle? Do your God teach to lie, to cheat, to fabricate, to take false oath? Are we allowed to use the name of God in vain? And not only this, in here is to deceive, because what this God is saying to you, you can lie to others, use my name to fabricate good in you, good on you, but in your heart you don't mean it. Allah judge you by your heart, not but what? Your oath. You can take false oath and there is no punishment for it. Have you ever heard of a God like this? What about this God? He hates those who love Jesus. And Allah will spread hate between them. Is that the God we have? Chapter 5 verse 14. From those two who call themselves Christians, we did take a covenant, but they forgot a good part of the message that we send them. So we string them with enmity and hatred between one to other. Is that the medicine of our God? The medicine, if somebody is wrong, the medicine is to make people hate each other? To spread hate between one to each other, between the Christians, and he target the Christians? Is that the God of the Christians? He hate them, he want to spread hate between them? This God is not only our God, this God, he hate us. Like, how clear this God to be a false God and satanic God more than this? But yet someone like James White, who says to us, we have historically the same God. No, we don't. And actually he said something more dangerous in his video. Let me go for that.
The New Testament says no. The New Testament says if you do not confess the Son, you do not have the Father. We are to honor the Son even as we honor the Father. It's very straightforward. It's very clear. Not very popular today in an age, obviously, where all religious truth is just,
So why we don't say that the God of Islam cannot be our God because their God doesn't have a father? Simply, that's it. Their God is not a father, he has no son. What historically, anyway. Let us hear the last thing he said, which is very bad.
Your opinion, somebody else's opinion, doesn't really matter. But that is the biblical testimony. And so, do I believe that the author of the Qur'an even understood what the New Testament said in those places? Not in the least. I have no evidence of it whatsoever. But you need to understand, that means the author of the Qur'an is not Allah.
Wow.
Because even if the New Testament is wrong in what it says there, God knew what it said there 600 years later. Could have refuted it, never did. Didn't even interact with it. The author gives no of the Qur'an.
All right. I don't know if you guys, you listen carefully as I do. I mean, maybe I'm a different person. Like, I have maybe different skills from you. Look what he said. Let me play it again. Maybe you will have attention. Listen carefully.
Means the author of the Quran is not Allah. Because even if the New Testament is wrong in what it says there, God knew what it said there 600 years later.
Obvious, the God of the Quran is not Allah. The author of the Quran is not Allah. Because God knows. what is written in the Old Testament after 600 years. So what James White is saying to us, that Allah is a true God, but Allah cannot be the author of the Qur'an. That is the most scary thing ever I heard from someone claiming to be a Christian minister. Anyway, as a final word, let us make it firm and even use the words of Satan himself to prove that the God of Islam is not our God. Remember, the Quran considered the Christians kuffar. We are kuffar. لَقَدْ كَفَرَ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ ثَالِثُ ثَلَاثَةٍ. He is a kafir, those who consider Allah as one of three. So anyone who believes in the Trinity is a kafir. Alright? You can read any translation you want. Now here the word using this translation in English, but the Arabic word is kafir. Kafir, it means the one who denies God. He is out, that's it, cast out. Alright? For sure the word comes with many meaning, and actually even the Quran called the Muslims sometimes kuffar too. Like if they do kufr against shaitan, supposedly they are kuffar. So kufr is a word can be used against the true God or against Satan. However, in this case here, Christians are kuffar because they believe in the Trinity. Now in different verse, remember now, take a note that we as a Christians, you can open any translation you want. Alright. They surely disbelieve. They translate the word kuffar as disbelieve. Who say Allah is one of three or the third of three. Alright. So who are the Christians? They are disbelievers. They are disbelievers. Now let us say, as long the Quran used the word kuffar and we are disbelievers, and this is the word kuffar, kafara, take a note, especially for those who like to learn Arabic and they are attending my class in Arabic. Kafara is those who became disbelievers, who deny the true God. So those who believe that God or Allah supposedly is third of a three, thalithu thalatha, this is a person, he is a kafir. He is a kafir, the one who believes in the Trinity. He is a kafir. The Quran says exactly the answer about if the kuffar they have the same God as those kuffar. Let us go and see the Quran. There's a chapter in the Quran, it's called the chapter of Al-Kafirun. The chapter of Al-Kafirun. Alright? Al-Kafirun coming from the word kafara, the same word we showed you in Arabic in the other verse. So, قُلْ أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. Kafirun is a plural name for like many. Kafir is for individual, kafirun for many. So say, O you kuffar. Say what? What we should say? Say, O you kuffar, I worship not which you worship, nor you will worship that I which worship, and I will not worship that which you have been wont to worship, nor you will worship which I worship. To you be your way, to mine, to me is mine or mine. How many times the Quran saying to you Christians, you don't worship what we worship? Actually, this verse is very, very stupid, because regardless now if the word worship or not, imagine I take the word here, the word worship, I take it and I replace it with eat. I eat not which you eat, and nor you will eat what I eat, and you will not eat which I have been wont to eat, and nor you will eat that which I eat. To your food, to mine, to me is mine. Like, come on, this is stupid. You know, the whole verse is nothing. You know, it's just a guy putting words together. They have no meaning. All the chapter have one thing. It means one thing. There's no need for the rest of it. I do not worship what you worship. So I think the Quran stated clearly that we don't worship the same as Muslims worship. So why the Christians want to confuse us, those who claim to be ministers, and say to us, you know what, you have, we in historical meaning, yes, we worship the same God. No, we don't. Not in historical, not in the meaning, not in the names, not in anything, not in the value. The value is different, the teaching is different, the names are different, the history is different, the stories are different, and we have nothing to share. If Muhammad came after us and hijacked some of our names, that doesn't make him believe in the same thing. Like, what about Jehovah's Witnesses? Do they believe in the same God? No. Even though Jehovah's Witnesses, they are copying 99.9% of what we have in our book. So don't confuse the Christians going in a circle. Make it simple, make it clear. We worship not what you worship, Muslims. With this, I say thank you, God bless you, and if you want to learn more about Islam, true teaching, firm education, proofs, reference, not speeches, you can read my books and you can get it from Amazon.com. The Deception of Allah, volume number 1. And if you want to complete your study, I advise you to read my second book, which is Qur'an and Science in Depth. This is the book. Alright. You can get them both from Amazon. Search for it first for The Deception of Allah, and then you will find this one underneath here, Qur'an and Science in Depth. This one is to refute the Muslims claim that their Qur'an is full of miracles. The fact, it's a very funny book, have tons of proofs and reference. Not only the Qur'an is not a book of science, it's a book of disasters. Funny, it's like a cartoon movie. So feel free to read my books if you are seeking true education, not from someone who just read some books translated to him and he's trying to grasp some knowledge from translated books. It doesn't matter how much you read from translated books, you will never know what Islam is unless you can read all the books. And translated books is not even 1% of the library of Islam. And even the translation, as you see, all Muslim translation, none of them is truthful. So how you can base your knowledge in a translation of those who love Islam, which means they try to present Islam to you in the best image, so their translation is fabricated. And as you know, we just showed you the Muslims, they are even allowed to take false oath and lie. Allah judged them only by their attention in their heart. So if their intention to convert you to Islam, lying to you to convert you, is very lawful in Islam. Actually, it's encouraged in Islam to lie to others as long your intention supposedly is good. Your intention is to convert this Christian or this Hindu or this atheist to Islam. I hope I did share with you good information for today. Christ is Lord, Islam is false. And you can share and visit our website, investigateislam.com, and you can leave your comments there. God bless.